Chris Godinez, licensed professional counselor, also the host of We Need to Talk on every Sunday at noon, and then I post it up to Facebook, except for this Sunday because I'm taking this Sunday off. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. If you feel you need a therapist, please go to Google, type in therapy, your city, Psychology Today will pop up, click on that, and it will have qualified therapists in your area. Also, the views and opinions stated herein are mine and mine alone. They do not represent the ACA, the APA, or any other damn therapist for that matter. Boom! Shakalaka done. So I am going to start a new channel. It's called We Need to Have Fun with Chris Godinez because people have said that they miss hearing me talk, which I think is weird, but okay. And they'd like to do topics on travel and cooking and, you know, life in general. It doesn't have to do with narcissism. And I'm all for it because, you know, it'd be nice to take a little break from that. Not that I would really be taking a break because I'd still be doing, you know, We Need to Talk, but I'm also going to be doing that other channel. So that's probably what I'm going to occupy myself with on my vacation to living room landia and kitchen table landia, and then trying to finish up my book. So anyway, okay, I wanted to hit on a couple of questions that I forgot to answer in the Q&A because it's been a crazy week. So one of the questions was, let me go over here and find it. Okay, you mentioned you were going to say why narcissists had children, and you forgot. Can you please answer that for me, or maybe answer it in your midweek video? Yes! Sorry about that. Okay, so why do narcissists and malignant borderlines, why do they have children if they don't frickin' raise them and don't frickin' care? Well, okay, let's talk about that. Malignant borderlines, malignant guys, I'm not talking about traits of, I'm talking malignant, okay? They have children so that they have somebody to love them unconditionally. And they are fine with that child until that child starts developing their own little personality and starts separating from them, which is what children need to do. So once the child starts separating, has their own opinions on things, their own personality, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, the malignant borderline comes unglued and tries to force them into being a mini-me, basically, and, you know, staying with them and loving them unconditionally, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So with a narcissist, however, what narcissists do, there's always a means to an end with these fuckers. Their means to an end is that they want to be connected to their supply for the next 18 years. That's their deal. And they want to be financially connected to their supply for the next 18 years. So they don't have children because they love them. Because remember, narcissists do not love. Narcissists do not love at all. They have children as a means to an end. They have children for a reason. There's a job given to that child. So sometimes with borderlines too, they'll have a child if the relationship is falling apart. And, you know, they'll think that, oh, this is going to save the relationship. This child is going to save the relationship. Well, you're giving a job to a baby that hasn't even popped out of the womb yet. You know, and that's not fair because it's not the child's job to save the relationship. But a lot of very, very, very dysfunctional people do that. So my experience with narcissists is that they have children in order to financially hook somebody to them for 18 years, or to emotionally hook somebody to them for 18 years so that they have a line of narcissistic supply that they can continually draw on. So, and remember, it's all about the Benjamins for the narcissists. Money equals love, money equals everything, and financial stuff. And so they will use those kids as pawns. And those are the ones, do you remember Liar Liar? Do you remember that scene where, oh, I can't think of the actress's name. She has the really high voice. Anyway, she was the wife of the guy, and she was, and I'm going to get this from you, and I'm going to get that, and I want half, and da-da-da-da-da, you know, the whole thing. And I was just like, oh, really hard to watch this movie without analyzing that one. But that's what narcissists do, is that they look at people as a bank account. That's what they're interested in. And of course, then they don't treat their children well. They play games with the kids, not games like Clue, but games like, I'm going to send you over to mom's house. I'm going to send you over to dad's house, but I'm going to make sure that you don't have clothes that fit you. I'm going to take the new clothes that they bought you, and I'm going to send you back in clothes that are like 3 years old. So, or I'm going to send you with no shoes. That's what happened to my sister and my brother when my dad and his wife were doing their Watusi, which neither one of them will ever win Parent of the Year. But anyway, they're both dead now. But anyway, the point being is That's the kind of bullshit they do. And that's why they have kids. They don't have kids because it's a calling. They don't have children because they love them or want to have little ones to love and raise and teach and, all of that. No, they have children because they're a means to an end. They are either there to save the marriage, they are there to keep them company, be their friend. I've actually heard them say that as well. And I'm like, that is the wrong reason to have children. Or they're there as a way to keep that line of credit open, so to speak, financially hook somebody to you, or, whatever, get the narcissistic line of supply going. So that is why disordered people decide to have children. I hope that answers the question. Plus the fact, once the kids are there, they love to control them. They love to manipulate and control and play games with the other parent. In other words, if they've divorced the other parent or the other parent has divorced them, they do the parental alienation thing. And I want to make very, very clear, both males and females play that game. So, it's not just one or the other. It is both play that alienation game. And that is not a good game to play with children because it damages them. Because every single time a narcissist or a malignant borderline, malignant narcissist puts down the other parent, guess what? That kid is 50% that person. So you're basically insulting your own children. Who the fuck does that? Well, a narcissist. There we go. Or a malignant borderline. So yeah, that's what they're doing. Okay, hope that answered that question. Yes, okay. Let me get rid of that one. Okay, next one. I know there was a question in here. Where did it go? Okay, what do you do when you are arguing with someone who is usually loving and compassionate, but who picked up fleas from an abuser in childhood? About how to argue and is constantly putting you in double binds, gaslighting, etc. whenever you have a disagreement? How do you navigate the situation in the moment, and how do you approach them later to talk about it? Well, you point out the behavior in the moment and you end the conversation. You're absolutely like, nope, this is fleas. I'm not going to do this. You're gaslighting me. When you decide to stop doing this behavior, we'll continue this conversation, and then you leave. And then you encourage them to go to counseling, when they come back to start talking to you, because that is unhealthy. So it's funny, I had this conversation earlier today with a client. So when we are raised by narcissists or malignant borderlines, we pick up a whole bunch of really not healthy communication behavior. And gaslighting is one of them, flipping the script, not taking responsibility, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That is what disordered people do. Healthy people take responsibility, do not flip the script, also do not allow somebody to flip the script on them. They'll, a healthy person will be like, oh, hail to the no. That is gaslighting. You are rewriting history. I am not playing. Do you see where I'm going with that? So it takes practice because we get scared. I got to tell you, in the beginning, when I first started learning all of this, it was terrifying to confront people when I found that they were, manipulating and gaslighting, etc. But then the more I did it, the easier it got. So practice, 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 because it's not a healthy relationship if this person is doing this, Watusi kind of thing. So let's see. Does that answer that question? Yes. Okay. Did that. Okay. I'm a middle school counselor where bullying is a problem. Oy. Could you maybe do a talk on how to handle middle school kids who are abusive to others? Are middle school age children already showing that they are abusers? Just anything from you is helpful. Thank you so much. Okay. So basically, here's the deal. Abusive children are generally being abused at home. So bullies are bullying because they're being taught and shown how to bully. So I don't know if you remember this a few months ago when I yelled at the kid that was beating up another child in our green space here. And of course the mother came over and started screaming at me, and I'm just like, oh bitch, you do not want to go there because I know where you live. And CPS, DCS will be the next phone call I make. So the mother was basically like, this is okay. This is okay. You have no right to yell. And I'm sitting here going, oh, I see. So violence is okay in your home. So basically what it is this kid is probably getting yelled at, beaten, screamed at home. And then he turns around and does it to kids, in the neighborhood. So that is where bullies come from. It's a learned behavior. So how do you deal with a middle school bully? Well, if the parents are the ones that are doing the bullying, it's really difficult because you're not going to get any support from them. That's for damn sure. So I would look for signs of abuse. I would report to DCS if appropriate. And I realized your guys' hands are tied in a lot of these school districts. I cannot tell you the number of times I've heard school counselors tell me that the unwritten rule is that you do not call DCS. You don't cause problems. And that is the problem with our goddamn system across the board. If there's bullshit going on, it needs to be called out. It needs to be put down and it needs to be stopped cold in its goddamn tracks. So you look for signs of abuse with the kids because obviously they're learning this from somewhere. And you talk to them. How are you doing? What's going on? Where did you learn this behavior? What's happening? How are you feeling? Sometimes they'll open up. A lot of times they won't, and that's really about as much as you can do, especially if your school district is not going to back you up, which I think is stupid. Don't get me started. So, there's anti-bullying programs, I know, for junior high and high school. Are they already showing signs of being abusers? Yeah. Yeah, it's a learned behavior in some cases. In some cases, nature, nurture. Remember the whole nature-nurture thing. So some people are born, absolutely, without any empathy at all. Period. None there. Zip, zero, zilch, nada. The lights are on, the engine is running, and ain't nobody home. Elevator does not go all the way up to the top. They are a few sandwiches short of a picnic. You know what I'm saying here. There's no empathy. There's nothing there. So add to that abuse going on, and you've got the perfect recipe, the perfect storm of, becoming an abuser because there's no empathy and you've got somebody abusing you. Great. You're going to turn around and be abusive because that's what you're seeing and you have no empathy. For some of these kids, there is empathy there. They just don't know how to handle the abuse that's going on at home. So, it's a matter of talking to them first and kind of assessing, is there empathy there? Is there there? Is the light on and the engine is running and there is actually somebody home? Or is there nobody home? There is no empathy. There is no person in there that's, cognitively there to have empathy, and if that's the case, you just basically, here's the consequences. You continue to do this, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. And this is the thing that I see at these schools a lot, is that there is no consequences. This is what I see out in the world. There is no consequences. So there needs to be real life consequences. And maybe this is something to discuss with the principal or with, the school district or whatever, because it's not good to allow this to go on. If you allow a bully to continue to bully, they become emboldened. And they feel like, okay, nobody's going to stop them. There's no consequences. And then they keep pushing the envelope, especially if they don't have empathy on their own. So if they don't have empathy on their own, they're going to keep pushing the envelope to see just how far they can go. Why? All right, well, let's talk about oppositional defiance disorder, which is generally the first step into being diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder, which used to be called psychopathy. So, in other words, if they get away with it and they've got oppositional defiance disorder and they don't have any empathy, they're on their way to a really bad path. And they'll just keep pushing the envelope to see how many rules they can break, how many people they can hurt, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And they don't care. So, yeah, that is a real issue. I would definitely talk to other school counselors and see what they're doing. I'm new to a large district that uses restorative training and restorative processes. I hope it will work. Can a 12-year-old's moral compass already be gone? Yes, it can already be gone. It's quite possible that a lot of it is learned behavior. So that, thankfully, if you're doing restorative stuff, then that could work. If they've got a conscience, if they've got empathy, if they're able to put themselves in somebody else's shoes and go, ow, how must that hurt? Then they're able to change. When someone has no empathy, none, they're not interested because there's no consequences. There's no feeling. There's no reason to change. So restorative stuff I love. I think that's great. So hopefully that will work. And you just talk to them like a normal person. Find out what's going on. Do they have empathy? Do they not have empathy? You can kind of assess for that, you know. If they have friends, if they care about other people, they have empathy. If they have pets that they love, that they don't want hurt, then they have empathy. A lot of times, though, with antisocial personality disorder, that's one of the hallmarks, is that they start harming their pets and they don't care. So empathy. Empathy is the big decider there. Okay, let's see. I think, did I answer all of the questions for that? I think I did. Also, somebody was mentioning Marie Kondo, that her cleaning out the house thing was kind of a cognitive behavioral. You know, you hold it and you see if it brings you joy, and then there's a whole bunch more that goes along with that. So that might be a topic for a later date, because I do know that hoarding, PTSD, trauma, they're all there together. So when you hoard, it's because of trauma. So that might be something to talk about at a later date. There was something else I wanted to make sure to hit on. Can I remember? Oh, court orders. Okay, somebody had a question on court orders. So when you are unjustly accused of something, you know, like, okay, so when you divorce a disordered person, it reads Splitting. I don't have the book out here. It's in the other room. Read Splitting by Randy Krieger and Bill Eddy. Fabulous book. Love it. So one of the tactics that abusers will take is that they will file motion after motion after motion after motion. They'll be their own attorney. You know what Shakespeare says about that. I think it was Shakespeare. Yeah, the person who represents himself has a fool for a client. So anyway, they'll do that. They'll file motion after motion after motion after motion. They'll make false allegations to the police. They'll make false allegations to DCS. They'll make false allegations to the courts. They'll file orders of protection when none are needed, you know, et cetera, et cetera. So here's the thing that you do to protect yourself. Everything needs to be in writing. Everything. Document the living crap out of literally everything. So once you have established that your ex is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs and vindictive, you want to document everything. And you do not want to have phone conversations with them because you can't prove it. So document it in text or an email. And there's services that you can go through there where everything's saved. So if they're going to be snarky, mean, nasty, threatening, whatever, great, you've got evidence. Does that make sense? Hang on a second. So you want to watch for that. You do not want to have phone conversations with them or in-person conversations with them. Basically, when somebody goes to file an order of protection, they have to have proof, okay? So they can't just go, oh, they're doing this, they're doing that, I want an order, and expect the order to be given. No, they have to show that the person is stalking, harassing, you know, interfering with their business, you know, interfering with family members, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There has to be proof. And so oftentimes these abusers, because they're so, oh my God, they're so arrogant and they don't understand how the justice system works. And they do try to work it though, I'll tell you that much. But they think that because they want it, it'll happen. So they'll march into a court and demand an order of protection and expect the court to just give it to them. It doesn't work that way. You got to have proof. So when I had to file my orders of protection, you basically have to have emails or screenshots or whatever showing the abuse, showing the stalking, showing the what they're doing. And then you have to go before a judge, and the judge will say, okay, well, why are you asking for this? And then you explain, and then they give it to you if there's enough evidence. So if they do that, if they don't have evidence, they won't be granted an order of protection. Excuse me. And basically you document that too, because that will now be harassment if they continue to do things like that. Also, with calling DCS on the client or on the parent and there's no abuse going on, DCS will do an FYI, they'll do an investigation, they'll find nothing, and then if the opposing parent does that again, okay, document that. That's now harassment because they're filing false reports. So, yeah. So there that is. And talk to your attorney. I'm not an attorney. I know this much. Attorneys know that much. So yeah, talk to an attorney so you can get good advice on what to do if this continues, because you could theoretically sue them for, you know, harassment and things like that. So there that is. Okay, I hope that answered all the questions. I am going to not have a show this week, but on the 16th, yeah, the 16th, on the 16th, I'm going to be doing PTSD and agoraphobia because those two kind of go together. So we're going to be talking about PTSD and agoraphobia. I am going to take a vacation and go to my fabulous living room and my fabulous kitchen table and hopefully finish up my book. And then I'm going to start another video channel, and it's just going to be cooking and traveling and things like that. Of course, no traveling right now, but cooking and talking about life and not talking about narcissists, just, you know, fun stuff. That would be good. So travel tips, etc., because I've done a lot of traveling. So, all right, my loves, be good. Have a great week, and I will see you on the 16th when we talk about agoraphobia and PTSD. Talk to you later. Bye.